She entered the Ottoman palace in chains, a foreign girl ripped from her homeland, with nothing to her name but her wits and an unbreakable spirit. They called her Roxolana, a concubine, a nobody in a harem of hundreds. Yet within just a few years, she would rewrite the destiny of an empire. She would become Hurrem Sultan, the only woman in Ottoman history to transform from captive to queen, from shadow to power, from silence to a voice that echoed across continents. But this is not the story of a fairy tale romance. This is the story of a woman who played the deadliest game of all, the game of power. Imagine the Ottoman court, glittering palaces, silken veils, golden thrones, and behind them betrayal, politics, and blood. To survive here was nearly impossible. To rise here, unthinkable. Yet Hurrem not only survived, she bent the will of the most powerful man on earth, Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, and forced an empire built on tradition to break its own rules for her. And here's the question that still burns through history. Was she a cunning manipulator who destroyed rivals with whispers and schemes? Or was she a brilliant strategist who carved out a space for women in a world where they were never meant to rule? If this were a Netflix series, you'd swear the writers had gone too far. But this is no fiction. This is the true story of Harem, Sultan. Before we dive in, remember history is full of hidden voices like Harem's. If you want to uncover them with us, don't just watch, join. Subscribe now, and let's explore the echoes of yesterday together. Hurrem's true origins are still shrouded in mystery. Most believe she was born in Ruthenia, modern-day Ukraine, in a quiet town that never imagined its daughter would one day command an empire. She was captured in a Tatar raid, dragged in chains, and sold into slavery. For most, that would have been the end of the story. For Hurrem, it was only the beginning. When she entered the harem of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, she was one among many, just another concubine in a palace filled with beauty and competition. But Hurrem had something rare, wit sharper than a sword, a smile that disarmed enemies, and a fearless mind that refused to bow. Unlike others who relied only on beauty, Hurrem understood that power in the harem was not about looks, it was about influence. She studied, she listened, she learned. Every glance, every word was calculated, and slowly Suleiman began to notice her. But here's the shocking part. The Ottoman court wasn't a safe place for love. For concubines, affection could mean power, but it could also mean danger. Rivals watched every move. Jealousy could kill. And in a world where women were expected to remain silent, Hurrem spoke, and the Sultan listened. Imagine the whispers, echoing through the palace halls. Why does the Sultan keep her near? Why does he smile when she speaks? Hurrem was no longer just another concubine. She was becoming something more. But rising in the harem was like climbing a ladder made of blades. One wrong step, and you fall. And for Hurrem, the higher she climbed, the more enemies sharpened their knives. What would happen when Suleiman broke centuries of tradition for her? For over 200 years, Ottoman sultans followed a strict, unwritten rule. Concubines were never wives. The sultan might love them, he might father children with them, but he never married them. The throne was never to be touched by the bonds of marriage. But then came Hurrem. Against every tradition, against every warning from his advisors, Suleiman did the unthinkable. He married her. Hurrem Sultan was no longer a concubine. She was, now, the legal wife of the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. The palace erupted in shock. Scholars called it madness. Advisors whispered betrayal of tradition. Rivals in the harem seethed with rage. But Suleiman stood firm. And Hurrem? She smiled, because she had achieved what no woman before her ever dared. Think about it. Imagine a modern president tearing up centuries of law, rewriting the Constitution, and saying, "For love, I will change everything." That's how Shocking Suleiman's decision was, and Hurrem didn't just become a wife. She became a queen, a sultana. She walked beside Suleiman, not behind him. She advised him on politics, appeared in official records, and shaped the empire's image. But power always comes with a price. By breaking tradition, Hurrem had not only secured her place, she had also declared war on every rival in the palace. And in the Ottoman court, wars were not fought with swords. They were fought with secrets, schemes, and shadows. Hurrem had love, she had power, and now she had a crown. But to keep it, she would need to fight the deadliest battles of all. The battles inside the palace walls. The world outside the palace thought the harem was a place of silk and music. They were wrong. It was a battlefield. And Hurrem was its most dangerous general. She was no silent queen. Hurrem wrote letters to kings and emperors, shaping diplomacy itself. Even the king of Poland received her words. Imagine that. A woman, once a slave, now commanding the ear of monarchs. But her greatest power was in the succession struggle. Suleiman had multiple sons, each with a claim to the throne. The most beloved was Prince Mustafa, admired by the army and adored by the people. But he was not Hurrem's son, and in the Ottoman Empire, only one prince could survive. Rumors began to swirl. Some said Hurrem whispered in Suleiman's ear, poisoning him against Mustafa. Some claimed she conspired with the Grand Vizier to eliminate rivals. Was she guilty? History remains divided. But one thing is clear, Mustafa fell. And when he did, Hurrem's sons rose. Pattern interrupt. Think about it. Was Hurrem a villain straight out of a Shakespearean tragedy, destroying rivals to protect her own blood? Or was she simply playing the same brutal game that every man in power played, but with sharper skill? Through diplomacy, cunning, and fierce protection of her children, Hurrem secured the future. Her son Selim would one day inherit the throne. But Hurrem's story wasn't only about politics and intrigue. She wasn't just a schemer in shadows. She left behind something far greater, a legacy that still stands today. For all her reputation as a manipulator, Hurrem Sultan was also a builder, a patron of art, architecture, and charity. She commissioned mosques, schools, baths, and hospitals. Her charitable foundations, called waqfs, fed the poor, sheltered travelers, and still serve communities today. Walk through Istanbul, and you'll see her mark carved into the city itself. And beyond stone and mortar, she changed history. In another way, Hurrem's rise opened the door to a new era, the Sultanate of Women. For nearly a century, women of the Ottoman court would wield real power, guiding emperors, ruling from behind the veil, and shaping policy in ways the world had never seen before. But history is never kind to powerful women. To some, Hurrem was a saintly queen, loyal wife, loving mother, builder of charities. To others, she was a scheming viper, tearing down rivals for her own ambition. The truth? Perhaps she was both. Perhaps she was exactly what the empire needed, a woman unafraid to seize destiny with her own hands. And so the girl once dragged to Istanbul in chains left this world as one of the most powerful women of her time. Hurrem Sultan. Beloved, hated, feared, admired. A woman who refused to be forgotten. Now here's where I want your voice. Do you think Hurrem was a manipulator hungry for power? Or a visionary who simply played the game better than anyone else? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your perspective. And remember, history belongs not just to kings and warriors, but to those who dared to break the rules. Subscribe, like, and join us again as we continue to uncover the untold echoes of yesterday.